going on, Wes?
Just chilling, Brian. What's going on with you, brother?
Just hanging out. Figured we'd do an episode of GAMESCAST. Nothing else to do on this fine Wednesday. Or West Day, I'm sorry.
Agreed. I mean, we could be, sleeping or outside in the summer sun, or I guess spring sun.
Blasphemy.
Be more accurate.
Blasphemy. Craziness.
Agreed.
What
Agreed. It's Wednesday, bro. What else are we gonna do?
I mean, I don't know. Did you hear about the guy from Konami?
I did not hear about the guy from
Eurogamer.net reports Konami employee arrested for attempted murder of colleague. 41-year-old attacked a former boss while at work. You know what? I can. I was gonna say the headline alone is good enough, and I don't want to ruin it by actually reading the article and finding out the details. However, the first line of the article is even better. A 41-year-old Konami employee has been arrested under suspicion of attempted murder after attacking their former boss with a fire extinguisher while at work. This doesn't scream premeditated to me, Wes. I think it was.
I don't know, man. That's kind of the most video game thing I've ever read from like in real life.
It's how you kill somebody in a Yakuza game. This is not how you kill somebody IRL. Oh
God. I mean, the only thing that could make it more game-like is if he had shot the fire extinguisher to distract the security so he could get by and murder the boss.
Oh my God.
You know, I knew crunch was a problem in today's industry, but man, apparently it's a big problem over at Konami.
I can't imagine anybody at Konami's doing anything. Like, they're certainly not making games. So it's like maybe they're just killing each other out of boredom. It's like we're just getting paid to sit around and play pachinko machines and make sure they're all working properly.
That's very possible.
Yeah. Although I will say there's some good jokes in the chat. We got Nihilist Ryan, kill Nami. And Beard of Power saying silent kill. It's good stuff. I like it.
Indeed.
All right.
Silent kill. That's the best one yet. Keep them coming.
Yeah, please do keep them coming. We need you to entertain us today. I kind of do feel like not ever leaving the title screen here, but I think at a certain point we have to start the show.
Yeah, we're required by law to do so. So I guess we should probably go ahead and do it.
Let's do it. This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single Monday, West Day, and Two Eyes Friday right here on PSVR without Parole. We do it live at 6 p.m. Eastern for your viewing pleasure right here on YouTube, which may or may not be where you're hearing these words. Because if you're watching it in video form, where people like to watch with their eyes, you're probably on youtube.com/withoutparolegames. If you're not, then you might be listening to this on podcast services of your choice for people who listen with their ears. Or that's not the joke. That's not the joke. I totally destroyed the joke. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR without Parole, and this gentleman over here to my right. It really does look like my left. You're right. It's Wes Dillon from Virtual Strangers. What's going on, Wes?
Yeah, I don't know. Have any idea still to this day how it actually looks on screen. I always look over this shoulder like you're pointing past me, but I might be looking like directly at you. I don't know. But hey, what's up, Brian?
Not a lot, dude. Not a lot. I finished Resident Evil 7 yesterday. I finished Resident Evil 8 yesterday. I finished Resident Evil 7 quite a few years ago.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. That's next on my menu, and we're covering it next week. And Roots has already started in on it. I'm after tonight's episode, it's top of the list and what I'm going to be focusing on mainly for the next week. So I can't wait to have a deep discussion with you. I have avoided all of your live streams, even though I wanted so badly to click on them, just so the game wouldn't be spoiled. But I'm hearing there are people telling me that this might be the best VR game of all time, which is praise I've been heaping on another couple of new titles. So I'll be interested for your spoiler-free opinion. Does it deserve to be in that conversation?
Yeah, it definitely does, and and without going too far, I'm actually curious. Where are you at in the game? Again, spoiler free. How early?
Early. Like I only played it a few times right at launch, and then I put it down. I'm in the castle, bro. I'm still looking with the 4 statues, trying to get all that shit figured out.
Yep.
I'm early on.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say about that is that what I love about Village so much, this just doesn't happen very frequently in VR games. That is such a big part of the game, and by the end of the game, you've completely forgotten about it because you've done so much stuff past that point where like this. I've spent hours and hours and hours in there, getting the 4 statue things and dealing with the sisters and Lady D. And then by the end of the game, you're like, oh, right, that was this game. Like, it feels like an eternity ago. I'm sure it doesn't help that, like, I spent, a week between playthroughs. But so it really kind of was an eternity ago in real life. But there's just so much happens in the game. Yeah, man, I mean, I'm working on my review right now. But I'll say is that I absolutely loved it. Loved it.
This is becoming a hallmark, and one of the things I really love about Resident Evil games is by the time you actually finish it, you've already thought to yourself, "I must be at the end," like 3 times, 3 times, 4 times, and it's like 3 games in one, especially by the standards of what a VR game is. Right, VR games are typically very short, and where these are games that are kind of brought into VR. We get all of the benefits that come from having a full-fledged AAA flat game, on top of it being, the best horror franchise in the history of video games. So, yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to dive in on this one this week. I have saved it for a reason because I didn't want to give it our usual, 5 hours and go treatment that we give most games. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this week getting in and finally taking this one on.
I will say, my big concern, of course, Wes, is that in my opinion, and I don't know how many people out there are with me, but in my opinion, Resident Evil 7 launched almost right alongside the PlayStation VR 1. Mere months after PlayStation VR 1 came out in October of 2016. I think Resident Evil 7 came out in January, I believe, of 2017. It was a few months later. And in my opinion, we never got a better PSVR 1 game than that. And so I just really, really hope that history is not repeating itself here because we start so great right out of the gate with Gran Turismo and Resident Evil Village. I just hope that the next time Sony talks about PlayStation VR2, they put those fears to rest and they announce the next big AAA game that's on the way, the next big partnerships that they have with AAA third-party studios for hybrid games. I just want to make sure that this isn't it, right? Highly doubtful that it is. VR is in a better place than it's ever been, but I just need that reassurance, and I think we all do.
I agree, and I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I don't think PSVR2 is launched yet, to be quite honest, and we've had this talk many times. For sure. I think this is a soft launch playing to the VR base, and that the mainstream launch is still yet to come. I think this has been a tremendous year for VR, and if it was the end of the year today, it would be better than most recent years. Just based, across all platforms, not just for PSVR2, but I think I could say pretty confidently that we've had 3 all-time great video games launch or VR games launch in the last 2 months, and probably 5 must-owns at least. So, yeah, it's a great time to be sure.
Yeah, agreed. Guys, just a quick reminder here. Wes is doing his own thing over on his own channel with his own friends. Doesn't include me. I can assure you that. So yet another reason to go watch. Check him out on Virtual Strangers. Click the link in the description below to go see what they're doing over there. Wes, what are you doing over there?
So much, Brian. So much. We got actually a lot going on. Besides the fact that we're going to be covering Village next week alongside a preview of another unreleased game that I'm not sure I can talk about yet, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Probably.
Let's see, what are we doing right now? Well, we've got an active giveaway going, as we have had typically for the last few weeks. The Last Worker, if any of you are interested in that, no matter what platform you're playing on, see our most recent episode, Virtual Strangers 182, and we're going to draw a winner. We already gave away 1 key. We're going to give away another one on Sunday. Tonight, we, last couple of weeks, we've kind of strayed away from the PSVR2 exclusivity because we did a solid month plus of that. And, 2 weeks ago we had Vertigo 2 come out, so we kind of went back to PCVR. Last week we did Game of the Month, so we had to get some Quest games in there as well. This week I woke up today and was like, I don't know what we're gonna do. We typically have a plan on Sunday, so we have time to prepare. And today I woke up. This week we didn't do that. And today I woke up and I didn't know what we were going to do, so we went back to the old tried and true formula of just talking about what we've been playing. So I'm happy to say that we're moving back into exclusively covering PSVR2 because that's what we've been doing. So tonight we're going to have as an appetizer Zombieland, the new reloaded version of that. As a palate cleanser, we're going to talk a little bit about Tetris Effect on PSVR2, and for the main course, we're going to move on to The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Chapter 2, Retribution, which is all I've wanted to play for about a week now.
Yeah.
And we're going to real-time review that one. So we're going to talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to go into some live gameplay right then and there. So I'm looking forward to getting in there tonight.
Can't wait, man. Can't wait. Always exciting. Yeah, I mean, you kind of hinted at it, but man, like the next couple of weeks are actually going to be pretty good for PSVR2. One of the games that we can certainly talk about is Afterlife VR that got announced over on as you were saying before the show. It got a release date trailer, and there was no release date in the trailer or in the description or anywhere to be found. You had to follow Perp on Twitter to find out what the actual release date is. It's next Thursday, I believe, if I get that right. Well, we're expecting this to be the same as the PCVR version, right? And you've played through that completely.
That's correct. I absolutely did. It's going to be something that I feel like people like you and I are going to find worthwhile. It's good. I mean, the fact that I finished it should tell you something. We don't often finish games over on our channel. We do impressions. We don't do reviews normally. Mm-hmm. But I did finish this one. But I am a horror game aficionado. I mean, it's a very much run-of-the-mill indie VR game full of common tropes and things that you would find in a lot of the stuff that we've already played. But it's pretty well done. It's not very buggy and it's not very long. So I mean, it's fun to play.
I'm hearing about an hour if you just beeline it, about 2 hours if you do everything. Is that fairly accurate?
Well, I'm slow. It took me a few hours to get through it. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping, because I mean, Paranormal Activity on PSVR 1 wasn't terribly long. Don't Knock Twice, that I got the name of correct that time, was only a couple hours, not very long. So I don't mind if it's short. I just don't want it to be like over before it begins. So a few hours is music to my ears.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it has a story that you're following along. It's an interesting, pretty unique story, even if it is in a familiar setting. And yeah, man, it does a couple of things that you don't typically see in these games. And I won't spoil any of that, but if you pay close attention to the trailer, you might pick up on what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'm just happy, man. Like let the flood of horror games come. Like it's this. Yes. It's Oregon Quarter that's coming, I believe, this spring, and we're in spring, right? We're in spring for 2 more months, so Oregon Quarter should be coming really soon. It's these kind of like, not B tier, but certainly like, indie horror games. I'm like, just bring them on, man. I'll take all the ones that you got, because these are some of my favorite experiences and some of my favorite games to play on PSVR 1. So getting them on PSVR 2 it's nice, man. It's nice. It's comforting.
Yeah, I look forward to jumping back in Oregon Quarter. I didn't go very deep into that one, but it is a game that has been recommended to me on numerous occasions from the community. People love that game. It seemed a bit dated to me at the time, but the one thing I really did like about it is there's a pretty substantial bit of game there. Like, it's not super short, and the weirdness factor is kind of through the roof on it. Like, it's certainly a fever dream of a horror game.
Nice. Well, I'm excited, man. I'm definitely excited. Probably a good time to remind people to come join our Discord. Click the link in the description below. That's where we hang out 24/7. Nice to see some new cats roll through the door, some old cats. A lot of people's names who I recognize, who been around for a long time. I saw Rickus Rook show up today, who has been around since literally 2017, and he finally showed up to Discord today. Always nice seeing new names and old names. But come hang out. That's where we talk about PSVR2 pretty much 24/7. We argue, we bicker because we're family, but it's a never-ending conversation over there. One of the other reasons to show up there is because you can leave your viewer takeover questions, and that's a good way to get your question into the show, cost free. And that's exactly what Sasslord did with his hashtag viewer takeover question. Says, if you could make just one change to the design of the PSVR2 headset, what would it be?
Oh, brother. Is that a loaded question, Brian? Oh, my God. So obviously this is a question purely out of the realm of the hypothetical. So what are the rules here? Like, can I put any hypothetical technology? I mean, we could talk about, giving this features of $3,000 like professional headsets and put micro OLED in it, or how about 200-degree field of view? I mean, we could have that. Or what about stuff we don't have yet, like varifocal lenses? Like, that would be awesome. I'm assuming that we need to keep this somewhat within the realm of possibility.
I would say, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be something that's going to happen. It doesn't have to be something that they'll change in the V2 model. It's just something, if you were to change it to your preference, something, a slight alteration, what would it be?
All right. So I mean, I guess the canned answer here, and the one that most people would give would be get rid of the wire, right?
Yeah.
But that's not really an issue for me, and it really isn't. I play seated 95% of the time. Now, I'll be honest, I would have loved if that cord had gone to hell when I was playing Creed last week. But that's really the only time I ever really noticed it. So I'm gonna let someone else say that and pick that as their change. And I would say I'd really like some integrated audio. I think that would that's the easy answer. It's something I feel would have been very doable for them. And let me be clear, there is integrated audio. People like to shit on the earbuds. The earbuds are okay, man. They're way better than Quest audio. So when I say I want integrated audio, I mean like Valve Index style integrated audio. But yeah. I think I'm going to go with that. And come at me, bro, if you think I'm wrong.
I don't know if I can get away with saying this one, because this isn't a feature of the headset itself. But if I could have made one change, it would be to somehow have made backwards compatibility a feature. Because
that'd be awesome,
right? I think that's less to do with the headset itself and more to do with just the PS5 and the fact that there's, I mean, I don't know. Again, we're talking purely hypothetical here, I guess. So like, maybe I don't need to qualify this with so many question marks and what ifs, but I think the thing that would have made a lot of people happy, I think a lot of the 6 million owners of the PSVR1 would have jumped into PSVR2 much faster if they knew that their complete library was playable. I have no idea how they would have made that possible. That's not really my job to to figure out. But yeah, I think backwards compatibility, if that's a feature of a headset that I could have changed, then that's probably would be my go-to. I don't give a fuck about the wire. The wire's fine. I've been playing. Dude, the wire didn't bother me in Creed. The wire hasn't bothered me in any fast-moving game. I've been totally fine. I've not once even noticed the wire. Certainly on PSVR1, there were moments when I was playing Beat Saber or whatever else where like something would happen, right? Where like I would hit the wire. I didn't know where it was, something, but this wire is so lightweight. It's just not an issue as far as I'm concerned. So that wouldn't even be my number one. That wouldn't be my go-to.
Okay, so a couple of things here. First of all, I'm going to give honorable mention to high resolution color pass through. I feel like if they had done that instead of the very utilitarian black and white pass through that they have on this model, I feel like they would have forced Meta to skip a generation, because that's going to be the thing that they have next gen that we don't have. That's going to be what they build their whole generation around, is mixed reality. And I'm sure there'll be some, a lot of tech demos, but there'll be some cool stuff come out of that. And had Sony implemented that, it would have been a very relatively cheap upgrade, I feel like, and they would have forced Meta into having to do something else next generation. It would have been pretty cool. I also want to point out Derail in the chat here, who says that I would have taken less brightness all day with the benefits. And I think what he's referring to here are some of the persistence issues with the OLED panels. I think that's a good one. It didn't cross my mind because I haven't really experienced a lot of discomfort, but some people are. So I think that would have been a good move as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of the things that people are bringing up, there's certainly people who are saying that they wish that the strap was more like the PSVR 1, that it felt more like the PSVR 1 when it was on your head. It's all it's the very personal things here, I think, because like I think the PSVR 2 is as comfortable, if not more comfortable, to me than the PSVR 1 was. I think I am the person whose head they designed it for, right? Like you can tell that the reason that they created that padding the way that they did, it's hollow. You can tell that whatever they're doing in there, it's intentionally not packed with padding so that like it can breathe. It's way more breathable than the first one was, and that's working perfectly for me. Like I am always cool in the headset, you know, unless I'm punching people in the face in Creed, and that's a little bit of a different story. But
I agree. I agree. It feels pretty similar to me. Like it feels very similar. Now I will admit that I do fiddle around with it a little bit more, trying to hit that sweet spot. But that's more about the lenses than the comfort. It's perfectly comfortable the whole time. So.
Alwyn in the chat says, "Hey Brian and Wes, first time on a live show. It looks like it's 20 minutes past midnight here in Germany. I think I got that right. Been watching every episode in the morning. The Wire is no problem. It's long enough. Brightness lower works better. Yeah, I've got mine around 60%, and it seems to be taking care of all my problems. We also got some tips that we should probably give a shout out to. We got Unintended Studios with the $5 tip. Says no spoilers in your next playthrough. Everyone's got advice for me, Wes, when it comes to Resident Evil Village, which I take all advice, except doesn't mean I'm going to. I listen to all advice, I guess I should say. It doesn't mean I'm actually going to take it while I'm playing. They says don't forget the gravestone before the windmill, in the locked gate right after, then back to the burnt house. Yeah, like I just finished playing through the game, and this advice means nothing to me. I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe when I'm playing it again, I'll be like, oh, hey, the gravestone before the windmill. Yeah, fucking, I'll absolutely remember that. Thank you, Unintended Studios. Andrew Bailey with the £2. Now, this is more of the comments that I'm used to hearing. Brian, you missed so much in Resident Evil 8, at least 10 to 20%. I beat the fucking game, and Andrew's like, you missed 20% of it. I'm like, I don't think so. Andrew.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, but I will say that I mean I took my time. I looked for bird cages. I looked for goats. I unlocked a shitload of stuff, and I fought an optional boss. I mean, like they did pretty well there, Andrew. But you know, everyone's going to complain about the way that I play games, and that's totally up to you if you choose to do that. No offense taken here, I promise you. SaneU.com. SaneU.com. There's got to be something there. With the Australian $3 says, No Dreams final update for PSVR 2. Petition time. Yeah. We're gonna talk about Dreams in just a little bit. But definitely
a little too late.
A little bit of sad news today. We'll get to it though.
Yeah.
Wes, how are you a Zenith fan?
Kinda. I played it quite a bit at launch, but I haven't picked it up in probably 6 months, maybe 8. Like it's been a while.
Okay. Well, it's been a while for me too. I definitely championed this game when it first came out. I played the crap out of it when it first came out, and then with each update, I tried to jump in and see what was new, but you know, I found myself being like, wow, I got to grind quite a bit just to kind of get caught up to where everyone else is at. And that sort of kept me away because I didn't have like, 30, 40 hours to go back in and spend. But it's great.
It's a different experience, right? Like catching up with friends, because it quickly becomes a session of, All right, let's catch him up. And the whole game is now, hey, it's over here. Come get it. It's over here. Come get it.
Yeah, I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
Yeah.
And so I don't play that way, right? Like I actually, for an MMO where there's like 50 people playing on each server at once, is it 50 or 100? I can't remember, but I go in solo, right? And I try to go in and figure out where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing. So that doesn't happen because people are so kind and want to show you the way and want to make sure that they're getting you caught up. Did you debug? What just happened there?
Nothing. I took my nicotine replacement therapy out of my mouth.
Are you a smoker? Do we need to have a separate conversation?
I'm a vapor, but I try not to vape so much on camera, at least when I'm on your air. So I take alternative measures.
Okay.
When I'm on here.
Well, that's very kind of you, but I will not tell you what to do. It's your body, your choice, Wes.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I end up playing MMOs quite a bit by myself. People see me wandering around just being stupid. And like, that's me. If you see That Would Be Dark, just wandering around, or Brian Pa, or whatever the hell I've called myself. Yep. But anyway, there is a new update coming. This is a big one that they've been talking about for quite a long time. And it's the title of the PlayStation blog post says, "Fight for PSVR2 glory in the upcoming Zenith The Last City PvP mode." I do want to make it really clear that they're specifically saying PSVR2 glory, because I do believe that Quest and PSVR1 are kind of being pushed off onto their own servers, I believe, and they will not be getting any further updates. Have you heard this?
I have heard it. I'm a member of their Discord channel, so I get the updates whenever they put out a little statement like that. And I remember reading that, and it makes sense. It makes sense, and I think this is a good thing for progress, that games don't get bogged down with trying to cater to the lowest common denominator. And when a new generation comes along, you have to cut the old generation off at some point. So yeah, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I agree. It's tough to, if you're still playing on PSVR 1, if you're still playing on Quest, it's tough news to hear. But a lot of people took the news as, oh, we're shutting the game down, and it's like, that's not the case at all. You still get to play. You still get to get in there with your friends. You still get to go play with all the people who are playing on last gen headsets. So at least there's that. And I think there's sort of like an understanding that comes with getting an online only game that says this might not be around forever, not at least in the capacity that you want it to be. Doesn't make it any better. But the fact is I agree with you, Wes. You got to keep moving forward.
Some lingering PTSD from Starblood Arena and Spark, huh?
Yeah. Eve Valkyrie, Drive Club. Yeah. Let's see. So Joe from Ramen VR, the community manager, writes, "Our PlayStation VR2 MMO RPG, Zenith The Last City, has its next major content patch, Skyward Summit, on the horizon, and with that, we'll be bringing a host of new features to the game. Today, we are thrilled to announce that one of the features we'll be introducing is PvP combat. We believe this feature will add a new layer of depth and excitement to Zenith. Players will now have the opportunity to test their skills against each other in a fun and engaging way. Challenge yourself with thrilling one-on-one and team duels. Team duels that will test your skills and push you to the limit. With our unique class system, including a brand new cyberninja class, you can explore an endless variety of playstyles and strategies. While we are exploring additional options for PvP in future patches, Skyward Summit's PvP will primarily focus on the implementation of one-on-one in team duels." I think that's... Yeah, let's just skip to the end here. Alongside the highly anticipated PvP mode, we're excited to introduce the brand new Cyber Ninja class and a host of other thrilling additions. From player housing to resource harvesting and crafting, this patch has it all. We can't wait for you to explore these exciting new systems and discover everything Skyward Summit has to offer. They're saying Q2 2023, and we are already in Q2, Wes. We only have 2 more months of Q2, so I don't expect to be waiting too long for this patch.
I'm going to go ahead and say May. It's my prediction, because everything that's been announced over the last 2 weeks has been May, and there's a lot coming next month, so I bet this is part of that.
Do you feel like something's coming in May? If there's all these announcements for things happening in May, do you think something's happening in May other than just?
I don't know. I know there's a lot of games coming out next month. I don't know if that's coordinated or just, everyone's independent market researcher pointing to the same period as being a good time to launch your game.
Yeah.
But I've noticed it. It's a trend at this point.
Yeah. Dude, this is such good news because I feel like we've been hearing about this cyberninja class for the longest time. Like, this is one of the first things I feel like they revealed after the game came out. And with every update, everyone's like, is this a cyberninja update? Is this a cyberninja update? We've been stuck with 2 classes, correct me if I'm wrong, since day one. And this is something that people desperately wanted. I know there's a lot of people out there who started with the first class, maxed out that character, and then said, jumped back in, created a new character with the other class, and then maxed that character out and said, now what? Right? And so, there's a lot of, we've got to get some new content coming. We've got, player housing and crafting and PvP stuff. It seems like probably a good time to jump back in.
Yeah, I was really excited about cyberninja when they first announced it, like a year ago. So yeah, it'll be cool to finally get our hands on this this new class and see what it has.
Yeah. It does sound like they made some improvements to the PSVR2 version as well. So yet again, another reason to get back in there. Hopefully I'll be able to do that soon. Guys, a real quick update here from Professor Lilith with the $5 tip. She says, the Sunday multiplayer survey is now posted. Choose from Synth Riders, Rhythm and Multiplayer Mayhem, or Gran Turismo 7. Great cars, no weapons. That's totally accurate. Guys, if you don't know how the Sunday multiplayer meetups work, make sure you click the link in the description below. Go join our Discord, and Professor Lilith takes it from there. Every week, she posts a list of games that you can vote on to determine what games you guys are all going to play together each weekend. Happens the same time every single Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Just get in there, get on Discord, and go into the Sunday multiplayer channel to get it organized. Good times, man. Good times. Great community. Professor Lilith is a great person, and couldn't ask for a better person to be running this stuff. So thank you, Professor Lilith. Wes, Switchback got updated today.
Yeah, I saw the announcement on my Discord server and got all excited for a minute, and then was like, "Oh, okay,
yeah,
fair enough."
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I usually am. Did when you played Switchback, you did not experience any low resolution graphics, correct? Was that you?
I didn't think it was as bad as some people were making it out to be. There was some low resolution and distant scenery and during cutscenes, but I felt like the criticism was way overblown compared to my experience.
Okay. And this is something that I'm very, very curious about, because there's obviously no way to compare your experience with my experience. No way for me to see your game in my headset, like what your eyes are seeing in my headset. Because what I was seeing, except for the things that you put right up to your face, sorry, sirens on my end, the stuff that you're putting right up to your face looked crystal clear, and it wasn't 5-10 feet away. It was everything else looked low res, right? So for me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm nitpicking. I was like, this is just clearly low res. And so when the Switchback devs, Supermassive, started calling it a bug, I was like, that's ridiculous. But when we compare stories like this, Wes, it does make me feel like it is a bug, and that some people are actually seeing the game differently than other people. And I don't know.
I can confirm this.
You can confirm this.
I can confirm this. Well, I mean, if we trust our community members, we've had people that are local to one another. And I wish I could remember exactly who it was so I could shout them out right now, but the names are escaping me. But we had people who were local to one another. One of them who said it's beautiful. The other one said it's garbage. And so they went to each other's house and played each other's game. And guess what? Completely different on the different hardware.
That is insanity. I was so sure that that Supermassive was just full of shit, that they didn't want to take ownership of what was happening. And It is, and this explains everything. I mean, this explains a lot, at least, right? The fact that some people are seeing one thing, some people are having one experience with the game, and other people are having a great, good experience, bad experience, whatever. I just saw Jack Kelly in the chat, who is a staunch Switchback defender, saying, "I love this game. I didn't have any problems. I don't know what people are complaining about." Definitely rates it much higher than I did, and that's great to hear, right? Like, I always like to hear that other people are enjoying their game more than I enjoyed it during my review process, right? I never want anyone to waste their money, but something's different about this game, as you just clearly pointed out. It's clearly a bug. Something's happening here, and people are not having the same experience. So, I wish that this patch addressed that.
Yeah,
this is what we were waiting for. We're waiting for everyone to have the same experience, and this is not the patch you were waiting for.
I'm glad that they're doing this, though, for a couple of reasons. First of all, we've got Fat Balls. I love your handle, by the way, Fat Balls. Fat Balls in the chat says Switchback keeps crashing on me. Now, I didn't have this problem. Like, I maybe had a crash or two, but it wasn't really an issue. Everything crashes every now and then. But that's what today's update is supposed to deal with, or these crashes. So if this is you've been having this problem, maybe go in and give it another shot now. The other reason I'm glad that this update is coming now is because they came out immediately and said that we're looking at this issue. People were skeptical because typically Supermassive isn't the best about post-launch support of their VR titles, at least. So at least people in my circle, were starting to question it now. Like, are they really going to do anything, or are they gone forever now? They said they were going to do something, but they haven't said anything since.
Yep.
So now we get an update. Literally an update for the game, but also an update on the progress of their troubleshooting. And apparently they're pretty close to nailing that one down too. So I'm glad that this update, both updates, came down today, and it certainly should put a few people's mind at ease.
For sure. So just to read through it quickly here, they said, we'd like to let you know that as of 2 p.m. UTC today, version 1.05 is now available for Switchback VR. This update addresses in-game crashes and improves the overall stability of the game. The team have made great progress in identifying and developing fixes for reported graphical and performance issues, and we hope to share the news of another update very soon. We appreciate your continued patience, support, and understanding while this work is ongoing, and hope that you will enjoy the improved experience on Inferno's ride following this update. Sincerely, Supermassive Games. Well, I'm with you, man. I'm absolutely with you. I'm glad that we got something from them. If you saw the sales charts for March on the PlayStation blog, Switchback, I believe, ranked number 2 in the US. It didn't rank at all in the EU charts, which makes me think something went horribly wrong there. Like, they just, like, it was an oversight or something. Like, it's got to be there somewhere. Very seldom is something number 2 here and just non-existent there.
From a European studio, nonetheless. Like, right. Really?
Europeans are like, fool me once, shame on me.
Well, it's funny because all the pre-launch content came from European content creators too. Like, I mean,
oh yeah,
they all got to visit Supermassive and play early, while we're over here just twiddling our thumbs, waiting just to get the copy of the game the day before it launches.
Yeah. So the fact is it does seem like it sold pretty well. And again, there are very mixed responses. So some of the reviews were really positive, and some of them were mid. But I hope it does well, man. I hope it does well. I hope they fix their game. I hope that ultimately we all get a great version of this game. Hopefully everybody's happy with it when all is said and done. And then that way we can Sony can contract them to update Rush of Blood so we can play it on PSVR2 and get the game we really wanted. End of story.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, the game we really wanted, like Rush of Blood 2. Oh, never mind. We'll talk about that another day.
Where are all these games, dude? I'm so irritated that we don't have news on any of these PSVR 1 games, especially the first party ones. It's just it's ridiculous.
I'm sure we'll learn more when we finally get the elusive, mythical Sony PSVR showcase that we've been waiting on for 18 months at this point. But it's coming this June. Did you hear, Brian? It's coming this June.
It's always coming soon.
Yeah.
Next month, the month after, June. Okay. Yeah. I do expect. Okay? So we've got a state of play happening tomorrow, right?
Oh, this is news to me. Really?
Oh, it's news to you because no one cares. It's Final Fantasy related.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. As half of them are.
Right. So it says taking them at their word. It seems like it's only Final Fantasy 16 related. Like there'll just be an update on Final Fantasy 16, and there won't be any other games shown there. And so it does make me wonder: are we going to see more PSVR2 before a showcase, or are we going to see it on a state of play? Like, will there be another state of play next month? Like, what is? I could see this happening in so many different ways. But the fact is that if backwards compatibility really is that big of an issue for a lot of people, or people are wondering what happened, man, I bought Everybody's Golf, I bought the Persistence, I bought Firewall and the Farpoint. I'm blanking here when it comes to other first party stuff. Astrobot Rescue Mission, like what's happening with all these games? Does that belong in a state of play? Or does that belong as just like a small part, a sizzle reel of a showcase, just at the tail end or the very beginning of a PSVR2 section? I don't really know the answer to that because Sony never does what I think they're going to do. But it would be nice to get PSVR2 in front of as many people as possible at a showcase, because going this long without a showcase, 18 months, as you said, people are going to be fucking chomping at the bit for whatever they're going to show us. And so while you have everybody's attention showing us the next Spider-Man game, maybe Wolverine, whatever fucking all the other 23 first party Sony studios are working on, get PSVR2 in front of these people, right? Show them hybrid games, show them upcoming games, finally reveal that Half-Life Alyx is coming, and then also talk about first. It's the longest rant ever, Wes. There should be a button over there where you can just be like, turn Brian off for like 5 minutes so I can get a word in.
Look, a red light.
Yeah, of like one of those canes that pulls the comedians off the stage. Showtime at the Apollo and stuff. Let's do
clown with the broom.
Yep. I would fucking love it if there was somebody just off camera with a giant cane and just pulled me. That'd be amazing. I love it.
That would be awesome. But I agree with the sentiment for what it's worth. And obviously, we've had this conversation a dozen times at this point.
It's true.
But I think we've got more announcements coming before the big showcase. Now, will that be in a state of play? I mean, I don't know if Sony's brave enough yet to do another VR-only state of play. Typically, that's not the case. But we might get a portion of one, or we could get more of what we've gotten lately, which is just blog posts, announcements. I think we'll hear some stuff. Whether how much first party stuff, I don't know. I do think there will be some significant third party announcements relatively soon, and then I do think that all the big first party announcements are going to come during some kind of a showcase, assuming that there is indeed a showcase coming up.
Let's refresh my memory. What the last state of play that had PSVR 2 stuff? It was that was like Journey to Foundation, right? That was the End Dreams game. Yep, Synapse.
Yeah, Synapse.
The Foglands. And what else? It was a fourth game.
Right.
It's not clicking.
Oh my goodness, what was it? Those are certainly the memorable ones. Was there a fourth game? I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe it started with Resident Evil 4 or something. I just included that mentally, but I love that, right? Because those are all, I believe all those games are coming this year, and I know Synapse and Foundation certainly are. Synapse and Foglands are both coming this year. I think Foundation is too. I don't know. I've been saying this a lot, and so if you guys have been watching every episode, then I apologize for repeating myself. But even if we just got all the games that have been announced, with like one or two exceptions, they're all coming in 2023. And that's only like 8 more months, right? Even if we only got the announced games this year, it would still be an incredible year for PSVR 2. But the fact is that there's more than that, right? There's stuff that hasn't been announced that's coming soon. There's stuff that hasn't been announced that's coming holiday. There's stuff that hasn't been announced that's coming next year. And I think when everybody starts talking, it's going to be really, really exciting. July through November. It's always late July through November. That's when it's just nonstop, and I expect that to be the case again this year.
We got Darth Vader, the Game Cat, with a $10 tip in the chat. It says Dead Island 2 launches in 9 days. Jesus Christ, this weight is killing me. I'm not gonna lie. In 9 days, if you don't see any content on the channel for about 24 to 48 hours, it's because I fucking love Dead Island, man. Like, Dead Island 1 was so good that, like, I will absolutely take my PSVR2 headset off for like a day or two and just blast through that game just so I can play it. Like, I desperately want Dead Island 2 in VR. I want to be able to play that in PSVR2. But yeah.
Is that game coming to PC, or is that a console only thing?
I think it's coming to everything. I think it's coming to PC and Xbox, and I don't know, probably make it to Switch eventually, I'm sure. Who knows?
Yeah. Then we'll play it in VR.
Then you'll play it in VR. Nice. Oh, dude. So, okay, I've got to ask you, did you ever have a chance to play Galaxy Kart?
No, I took the recommendations of you and literally every other VR content creator that I interact with on a daily basis, and I avoided that one.
Okay. Now,
Look, man, if Paradise Decay is shitting on your game, then it needs work.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
No, I mean, dude, it definitely needs work. It definitely needs work. And for the price that they're charging $20, and you know, like Dash World exists out there somewhere, and there's just absolutely no excuse for the way that this game launched, right? No question about that. I don't want to sit here and start giving the developers excuses and stuff and make excuses for their game. That's not what I did during my review. That's not what I've done since. I don't actually recommend that you buy Galaxy Kart, but I don't know what all the other content creators are saying, but I do need to make sure that people know, keep an eye on this one, because we had so much fun playing a broken game, like a broken, incomplete game, that like there's so much potential here that if they can get this right and they can fix this over time, that eventually I think most people's opinions are going to change. It is fun driving around with 2 Sense controllers, you know, wheel in one hand, weapon in the other. The sense of speed is pretty decent. Every time you hit an item crate, it's the most intense headset rumble I've ever felt. And it just proves that never gets old. You know, when I complained about Creed saying the headset rumble when you get punched in the head isn't strong enough, people are like, oh, that would get really old really fast. It doesn't get old. It's really enjoyable all the time. And so like I look forward to hitting item crates in Galaxy Kart because of the intense headset rumble. It's fun. It's janky, and it needs a lot of work, and it needs more tracks and everything else. So just like Switchback, I'm very, very happy that these guys are updating us on their progress. They fixed the multiplayer problems like day one. And they what else did they fix? They fixed the progression system problem day one. And so they made some great strides already. Now, here, let's go full screen on this. They let me get some footage up here. Over on our Discord, and I believe on their Discord as well, they wanted to update everybody and let everybody know that they're working on 3 new tracks. Now, what you're going to see here is very primitive. They said it's going to take a few months before these tracks are done, but the fact that there's only 4 tracks right now, they're going to get us 3 more soon, is promising. Again, very, very basic looking, but the fact that they're updating us and telling us that this is happening and they're going to add content to a game that was severely lacking in content is good news. So that's all I'll say. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, because I do believe that if VR Monkey can keep with this and keep updating it and give us the wheel support that we want, and just fix the little things and keep adding content, this could be a Dash competitor. And it seems like Dash is a long way out, Wes.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. They have gone notoriously silent, and that's weird for them, because when in their day they were very active on social media and with all the content creators. So
right.
I don't know what's up. I don't know what's up with Dash.
Yeah, they went oddly silent so much that they that I thought that they were gone. Like they had stopped responding to my emails. I didn't see any social media updates from them, and I thought they were done. I thought Motion X had just gone out of business. But very recently, we did see then respond to a tweet about PSVR2 saying that the PSVR2 version of Dash Dash World is early in development. And so it's coming. We just don't know when.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It makes me wonder.
It'll be good when it gets here.
Makes me wonder if the PSVR 1 version is just trashed, because that seems like what they had been working on. They had been giving me constant updates for the PSVR 1 version, and now it's just like maybe not worth it to them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would imagine that's probably the case.
Yeah. But they've got like 17 tracks over there. Right? They've got 17 tracks. They've got their own set of weapons. They've got their own set of vehicles. They've got, in their tracks are, I mean, I will tell you right now, better than what's going on in Galaxy Kart, right?
They're nuts. Some of them, the ones that are like classified as intense, are intense.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. It's kind of a race to the finish line. Can Galaxy Kart get their game up to speed before Dash Dash gets their shit together? It's the race of the kart racers. And maybe, who knows, man? Maybe we'll get Crash Team Racing over here. Maybe Sony can strike a deal with Activision or something. I don't
touring karts too. You heard it here first. I'm just joking.
I would have loved touring karts too. It had potential. It was janky.
Yeah,
but it was okay.
Had fun with it.
Yeah. Let me make sure we didn't miss any tips. I think we did. I think I missed like 3 tips. Luca, the Satanic Game Cat. With the $5 tip says PSVR2 is not available to buy on Best Buy, Amazon. Why do you think that is? Maybe they're retailing. Maybe they're retaliating for not offering pre-orders with them.
No, not at all. Because these partners were the ones that you could pre-order from in other markets, just not in our market. So. No, I think that a couple things are going on here. Mainly, I think that they're building stock. I don't think they had the stock available in February for a full retail launch. Mm-hmm. And I think, obviously this is a peripheral for a console that people have only been able to get their hands on for a few months. I think they're letting their console base build up. I think by the time holiday shopping season rolls around, we're going to have a lot of new game announcements. We're going to have PSVR2s in the hands of retailers. Yeah. And dude, the last couple of times I've been in Walmart, you can get PS5s at Walmart now in person in the store, which has been something that we've never seen over the years. So I think we're moving in the right direction, but we've said it before. I think that PSVR2 just had a soft launch in February and the real launch is coming later this year. For sure. I'm confused about the retailer thing because, yeah, one of the issues that that console developers have always had a problem with, right, when it came to like something like digital only consoles, right, like so a PlayStation 5 without a disc drive. If that was the only version of the PS5 that launched, retailers wouldn't want to carry it, right, because they want to be able to sell the software for these consoles, and so digital only means there's no software to sell for it. And so you're basically creating a user base that's no longer going to shop at your store, right? That's a problem that Walmart has, that Amazon has, that Target has, Best Buy has. Like, they don't want a digital only future because that gets rid of the brick and mortar store. And so that's been a problem for years now. That's why there's always been a disc drive. And that's why there'll continue to be a disc drive. With PSVR 2, we've got another issue. There's been so few physical games. Horizon didn't get a physical release. Switchback didn't get a physical release. I mean, like the big ones that got physical releases were already out on physical, like Gran Turismo and Resident Evil. I'm wondering if there was a conversation that happened with retailers and they said, well, is this thing going to get physical games? Are we going to be able to like supply this new user base with a constant supply of games? And the answer is going to be no, right? Because they're going to be so few and far between. And I'm wondering if that had any impact whatsoever on their relationship with retailers. Possibly. I mean, there's the fact that all of these retailers are still sitting on a large stock of PSVR1 headsets that are still on the shelves. Yeah. I mean, that might be a certainly a factor. But even beyond the brick and mortar stores, you can't get this thing at Amazon or any online retailers, which is a huge, huge mistake. If this is the way that they're trying to go, which I don't think it is. Again, I think that it's just rolling out in phases. Yeah. But
it's just a random conspiracy theory that crossed my mind while we were talking.
Certainly possible. I think it's would be a good negotiating point for them to try to to get Sony to agree to some kind of a third-party key distribution system, kind of like what GameStop does. But there's not much motivation for Sony to do that, because while they're definitely struggling to get people to order hardware direct from them, they're having absolutely no trouble getting people to buy digital games, and I don't see why they would take a step back from this goal that I'm sure that they've been working a long time to try to achieve.
Yeah. And I think everything's going to become clear. Wes, you definitely alluded to this already. Sorry, motorcycles on my end. It's a fucking weird day I'm having. Yeah, I think everything's going to become clear over the course of the next year. Again, we know that Sony's working on so many things first party for this thing. And so once they do this big marketing blitz and they reveal what's happening with PSVR1 games, they reveal what's happening with first party games, hybrid games, again, relationships with third party studios, I think a showcase would be a perfect time to do not a relaunch, but an actual launch. And so I think in the next few months, things are going to start becoming a little bit more clear. But yeah, not being in retailers is certainly a sign that the official launch hasn't actually happened. Also, I disagree with everybody in the chat who's saying Dying Light was better than Dead Island. Dead Island was so much better than Dying Light. I hated the story in Dying Light, hated the gameplay loop. I got so bored. I actually ended up having to play multiplayer in Dying Light for somebody to drag me through to the end of it, and I was just like, this is so not fun. So when I finally saw the rest of the story, I hated going back to that tower or whatever for just oh god, I would take Dead Island in VR over Dying Light any day of the week. There's a couple cats that agree with me. Stephen Blaylock with the $5 tip says third-party VR developers could subcontract out their services to port PSVR1 games to PSVR2, couldn't they? Maybe just make a deal for residuals. This is happening. Just as VR Monkey was like a great port studio for PSVR1, bringing games over from the PC, bringing games over from the Quest. VR Monkey took care of Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife. They took care of Yuki. They took care of Windlands 2. Tarzan, thank you. And they actually fixed Tarzan. Tarzan was one of their first. They were just coming to terms with it, apparently. I think that VR Monkey and studios like them will grow considerably by being able to just kind of subcontract and bring PSVR1 games over. The number of studios I've talked to that want to bring their PSVR1 games over, but just don't have time right now or don't have the staff or manpower. It's a good chunk of them. They want to do it, but they're working on their new game right now. I think it's all going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit longer than we expected.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, it's not just as easy as deciding that you want to port it and then doing it. Like, you have to get a new store listing from Sony, which is a fucking feat from what I understand. You have to give a whole master's thesis on your game to them and have it go before the Grand Council and get it approved. It's not an easy thing to do. It takes time. And again, you're talking about a prospect here that's only going to have limited profit tied to it, as a lot of people are going to expect either free upgrades or something with a very small price tag upgrade fee attached to it. So again, it's more about supporting your titles and just keeping your reputation up than profiting from your work. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So it's certainly understandable why a lot of this stuff isn't ready to go, right away. But I do think we'll see more and more of it over time.
Yeah. I mean, I think Vacation Simulator popped up on the top 10 sales charts for PSVR2 in March, and Vacation Sim was a free upgrade, so that wouldn't have shown up for people just upgrading. Nice. And so it does prove, no, it wasn't Vacation Sim, Job Sim. I don't know what I said. Job Sim showed up as number 10, and so that really proves that what we have here on PlayStation VR2 isn't just people upgrading from PSVR1 and then getting their free upgrades. There's a new user base who's picking up all of these games that they've heard about for the last 6 years for the very first time. There's a new VR user base. And so these companies are profiting very much so on their PSVR1 upgrades, even if they're not charging for the upgrade, because they're selling it to a brand new group of people. And that's sort of been like my theory the whole time, that this was going to be a thing. Over the course of time, you have millions of people who have never played your game before. Brand new audience. Get your game out there, make it available. Just
further evidence to support my theory that we're never getting a sequel to Super Hot. it will never happen because people are just going to keep buying it. They can just bring the old one over. If Job Sim is charting, then Super Heart would definitely chart.
Yep.
And we're never getting the sequel ever.
I feel like a broken record. We do this 3 days a week, so I say the same thing a lot. But I feel like what I want more than Super Hot VR on PSVR2 is the original flat screen Super Hot game with full locomotion in PSVR2. Like, I want the flat screen game where you could run around, and when you run around, time only moves when you do, right? So it's the full Super Hot experience. I want that. I just want a new game. Remember when Super Cold was coming? Remember that leak? Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Wow. I bet if I searched my channel, I could find a breaking news report by yours truly.
We were so naive, Brian. We were so naive back then.
I'm still naive today. Nothing has changed, Wes. Not even a little bit. All right, I think that gets us all caught up. No, it doesn't. Burke Daniels with the $5 tip says Resident Evil 8 is a fucking slam dunk of a proof of concept for other developers to see how confident are we that other AAA hybrids are coming and how soon. I'm really confident. But how soon is the question mark.
That is the question mark. Well, no one knows. Yeah. And we shouldn't even pretend like we know at this point. So
no other financial model makes sense, right? If you're going to bring a AAA game to VR, you can't spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to make a VR game that is only going to be played by VR gamers, right? Because the audience isn't big enough yet, and that's why you see people making PSVR2 games that are also on Quest, that are also coming to PSVR1, that are also on Steam VR, because you have to bring your game to as many people as possible to make a profit, right? And that relates to small games, that relates to big games, that relates to everything. The only way to get these like true AAA games on the platform is the hybrid model. I don't know how many millions of dollars it took or what the team size over at Capcom was to make it happen. I don't know how much Sony paid them to make it happen. But whatever the cost, it has to be way cheaper than building a brand new VR game from scratch.
Absolutely. And not only is that the only way to get AAA games into VR, AAA games are the only way to get traditional gamers into VR. So it makes sense that Sony would support such an initiative, and that would be the focus of this generation, as we speculate that it will be.
Yeah, I agree. That's going to be most of this generation. Very curious what's happening with RE4 Dr. Dance. It's a very good question. When will we see that? We don't know. Will it be the whole game? We don't know, but it better be.
It will, man.
Pure Vita FC in the chat says Village is the greatest game ever in VR. I might agree with you.
That's crazy, man. But I don't know if you caught my my game of the month this past week, but we talked about The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners 2 Retribution, which won PSVR game of the month from us. But then we moved on to PC, where that game also launched alongside Vertigo 2. And the whole kind of intro into that segment was, we just came away from talking about Saints and Sinners 2, which might be the best game I've ever played. How do you contend with that? Well, by talking about another of the best games that I've ever played, Vertigo 2. There's so many great games coming out. I haven't even played Village yet, and I'm sure I'm going to be saying the same thing about that. It's crazy, dude, how many great games have been out lately.
Yeah, definitely super jealous about Vertigo, because Vertigo 1 looks great, Vertigo 2 looks great. Can't wait for these solo devs to find time to make their games PSVR2 compatible. Dan the Game Cat's Pajamas with £5 said, what games are coming out in April/May? I'm not that organized. Also, I don't know
which games are.
I think there are games. The only games I know about that are coming in April and May are games that don't officially have release dates yet, and so that's embargoed. Other than next week, Afterlife VR.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah. I'm glad that you said that, because I might have said something that I shouldn't have said. I could tell, if we're talking about VR in general, not just keeping it to PSVR2, I know a big one that's coming out next month is Firmament from Cyan.
Nice.
That's a huge release coming out next month. I know Carbon Studio just announced a new title called Cryman, I think it's called. That's coming out next month. There's a bunch of stuff coming
Carbon's
out.
The Wizards team, right?
That's right. They did the Wizards. They did more recently, what was it? Warhammer, Age of Sigmar.
Yep.
And now they have a brand new IP coming out called Cryman. They just announced last week. I would say too, Dan, tune in to our show on Sunday, and we're going to get caught up on the news, and I'm sure a lot of these titles we'll be reporting on then.
Pietrek F with the 12 plantains says, Wes, how good are PCVR mods 1 to 10? Village on PSVR2 is a 9.
If Village on PSVR2 is a 9, I would say Village on PCVR mod would be a 7.5 or an 8. Like, it's a little rough around the edges. Like, it's really the VRAF stuff that isn't quite perfect. Visually, they're comparable. It looks a little bit better on PSVR2 than it looks in PCVR. You do have full hand presence. That's the amazing thing about these Resident Evil mods, is that they take flat games that were not made for VR, and they give you hands and first person interactions, aiming down the sights, all of it. And it's not just for a game like Village, which is already in first person, or Resident Evil 7, which is already first person, but they have 2 and 3, and they let you play it how you want. You can play it third person, you can play it first person, hand presence. So in that aspect, they're amazing. But are they as good and polished as a game that is developed for VR? No, obviously not. But they're very close. They're very close, and they're very good. I would say that the Resident Evil mods specifically are the best that I've tried in VR, with maybe the exception of Half-Life 2, which is amazing in its own right.
Wes, when you get around to checking out Village more thoroughly on PSVR2, I want you to pay attention to some of the more PSVR2 specific things. Firing a shotgun in the headset haptics when you open a lock, lifting.
I can already tell you that fucking shotgun is amazing, because there's a shooting gallery right at the front of the game.
Yep.
And dude, that was one of the, when we talked about that game on launch, that was 90% of what we talked about, was how awesome the shotgun was, and the haptics and the triggers and everything, how good it felt.
Yeah. It's so many little things though. Like whenever I open like cabinets that are all like, it's like, you know, these rusty gated cabinets, like they're metal, right? What you feel in the Sense controllers as you pull those open, the rusty metal bolt locks, you lift those up and then slide it over to unbolt it. I mean, unbelievable. I don't think I've ever felt controllers feel as realistic for doing like these little menial tasks as I have with these things in my life. Like I'm wondering how much more of that we'll see over the course of the PSVR2 generation, or if this is the pinnacle of it, because it's so well done that like I just loved walking around like opening things, you know, and like unlocking the locks. Like I felt it in the controllers. I was like, this is exactly how this should feel. Like it's these little things that they just absolutely killed. And yeah. Yep.
So the PC mod is pretty cool, right? So they give you the hand presence, which you can swipe with the knife. You can physically pour the medicine on yourself to heal. You can block with your hands. A lot of the stuff that the real game does. But there are other things like for example, when you're holding the baby at the beginning in those early scenes, like the baby's, you have one hand on it. You can't grab it with the other hand. And it's like its feet are stuck to your hand, and the baby is a non-moving thing. So it's just like you hold your hand around like this, and the baby just kind of moves around with it. So there's stuff like that really breaks the immersion. And those are the biggest differences between like a modded game and like a made for VR version.
I mean, in all fairness, I don't think even on the official PSVR2 version that the whole holding the baby scene is exactly, you know, how I would do it or whatever. It just feels a little wonky. I do think the End of Zoe DLC for RE7 handled it even better. When you're actually holding Zoe in your arms, I was like, oh, this is really fucking cool. The baby thing seemed weird. Holding Zoe was cool. So it's like, why did one resonate with me and the other one didn't quite work? I don't know, but what are you gonna do?
No, still never played that DLC. Never played any of it.
What? Okay.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy. That is some of the best DLC I've ever played for any game ever.
This is what I hear. Probably should do that sometime, huh?
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll do it when it comes to PSVR2.
Dude, for the love of God. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if whoever follows me on Twitter at Parole PSVR, I retweeted something from Perp today. They were wondering what games would you like to see on PSVR2 from PSVR1. What PSVR1 upgrades do you want on PSVR2? I'm sure there's a million ways to say that. And Resident Evil 7 just fucking went right past me. Right? A lot of people were saying, Wipeout and the Persistence and Astrobot, all the usual suspects. And of course I was like, Separation, Golem, Mortal Legacy. But I'm wondering if Perp was actually asking that for more than just curiosity's sake, because Perp is getting bigger by the minute, right? They're becoming a bigger publishing studio. And I'm wondering if they've got their hands possibly in some PSVR1 upgrades, and they're wondering what people want to have brought over.
Absolutely. There's definitely ulterior motives here. They want to know what they should go for. Mm-hmm. And I love it. And for what it's worth, I don't think this is the first time that they've asked this. They typically every few months come out with something similar to this, unless I'm badly mistaken. So yeah, I think they're doing market research, and I think it's smart.
Yeah. Here They Lie is an excellent answer. I think you tweeted that today, right, Wes? Yeah,
absolutely.
Shades
Here
of
They
Grey
Lie,
Matter
oblivious. I forgot to put Farpoint in there, which I probably should have, but those are the three for me.
Yeah. I just knew that everybody else was taking care of the obvious ones, so I wanted to go a little bit deeper. Where the fuck is Golem, guys? Where's Golem? This is craziness.
Do that.
We should probably get to our main story here, man, before it gets too much later. And that is the unfortunate news that support for Dreams is ending in September. Now I want to make sure we get all of our facts straight and get it from a decent source. So I'm going to bring up an article here that we can read through. Let's see where we're going to get this from. We're going to get it from... Hold on. I swear it's coming. We're going to get it from Polygon. Polygon states... Ooh, Polygon's got a Resident Evil 4 ad in my face. That's nice. All right, here, let me close this down so I can interact with this. They go, Sony is ending support for Dreams in September. This is by Ollie Welsh. Media Molecule is moving on to an exciting new project. The article reads, Media Molecule, the Sony-owned developer of Dreams, has announced it will end live service support for the PlayStation 4 game creation system in September as it concentrates on a different project. We've made the difficult decision to discontinue live support for Dreams after September 1st, 2023, to shift our focus to an exciting new project, said the studio in a blog post. The title won't be removed from sale, and players will still be able to create, share, and play within Dreams, but there won't be any more updates or developer-led events such as the Impy Awards that rewarded the community's best creations. Long-promised multiplayer support will not be happening, and the game will not be upgraded for PlayStation 5 or PlayStation VR2. And I think that's where what we care about kind of ends, Wes. It's important that everybody gets the right message from this. Dreams isn't going away, right? And if you're a Dreams creator, you can keep making games for Dreams, flat screen and VR. But it's just unfortunately, there were certainly some promised updates. There were certainly some things that we expected to happen that aren't going to happen. We're not getting PlayStation VR2 support for it. There's no full PlayStation 5 support for it. So I don't know. Wes, what's your takeaway from this? This is kind of crazy.
It's a shame. Dreams holds a special place in our heart because it gave us content during a time when there wasn't much else coming. And there's been a lot of amazing projects published through Dreams, and it was certainly fun to kind of speculate about some of the possibilities that a next gen version of Dreams would give us. But with that said, it's certainly not surprising. At the end of the day, this is a business, and you could tell when Dreams fairly early on got steep discounts that people weren't buying and people weren't engaging with it. They weren't getting a return on their investment, and Sony's not in the business of throwing money into a pit. So, I mean, we've heard rumors in recent years about, Media Molecule even possibly being shut down. So hopefully this is just them moving on to the next project. It's a shame. I was really looking forward to what a next gen version of VR Dreams might look like. But I'm not going to say that I'm very surprised by this at all.
So you say that Sony's not in the business of throwing money into a pit, yet this game took 7 years to develop, right? And I mean, at what point do you say we're not making our money back on this? Like, we need to cut our losses and fucking move on. And I guess they gave them a few years, 4 years, I guess, to make Dreams happen. But it didn't seem like it happened. It didn't seem like they were getting much support from Sony to make it happen. They were given support and they were paid to make the game. But then once it was out, like, how impactful would it have been, Wes, if there was a commercial out there, a trailer for Dreams out there, where somebody was saying, "Hey, do you like to make games? Do you love VR and you want to like make your own VR game? Well, then here's exactly what you need. Like, we're giving you all the tools to do it, to build these things from scratch, from the ground up, and make games that rival some of the better PSVR1 games." And I never saw a commercial or any kind of indication that like that they were really, that Sony was committed to getting that message across and trying to make Dreams work. Because, I mean, those messages were certainly implied, but there's so many people out there that want to be game developers, and for a $40 game that eventually got a price drop to $20, like, it's way cheaper than getting Unity or figuring out how to use Unreal, right? This is the perfect way for budding game developers to try their hand at making a game and learning this tool set. And I just feel like that wasn't ever communicated properly from Sony, saying, "Hey, fucking come make games for the cheapest possible way, in the most consumer friendly possible way that you could imagine." I just never saw that happen.
That certainly could have helped. Content wise, I mean, I don't think you're going to make a big bump in sales by attracting prospective game developers, but what it might do is make the catalog of content undeniable, and then maybe you could advertise some of that stuff by putting out I don't know, maybe demos or something that have a sample of the best user created content in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. I do suspect that maybe the vision at Media Molecule was maybe a bit ambitious, because I remember reading articles where these guys are talking about going multi-platform, allowing creators to monetize their work, stuff like this that never saw the light of day. So I'd be interested to know what their kind of pitch was to Sony for post-launch support, and then maybe if they were biting off a little bit too much, more, a lot more than what Sony was willing to allow them to do.
Yeah, I agree. It seemed I'm just kind of at a loss, man. I'm kind of at a loss because here's the thing. I think when you look at this and you say, "Hey, we've invested 7 years of development time and lots of money into this to make it happen," how can you be so willing to let it go, right? How can you be so willing to let something like this, that the people who understood it and the people who recognized its brilliance, like, shouted it from the rooftops, right? And I keep hearing people say that Sony's not the same Sony that they were, in the PS3 and PS4 era, that there's different people at the helm, right? The people who allowed Dreams to be developed are not the same people who are in charge now. And so is that the reasoning, right? This game should have been made free to play, right? I feel like they give it They should have given it PlayStation 5, like full PlayStation 5 support, and full PlayStation VR2 support, and then said, now we're done. Like, right, we've given it all the updates or the multiplayer support, whatever. We've given it all the updates that it needs to have a nice, healthy, long life. But now, but as a team, we have to step away now, and we have to go make something different, right? Because for whatever reason. But you now have all the tools at your disposal for an entire new generation to make games and to share games and to play games together. It just seems like a weird time to do it, and it makes me really fucking nervous that here's a first party game that was 7 years in development. That I don't know how much money it took to get this thing out the door. If they're so willing to kind of throw this thing away and not give it PSVR2 support, like, am I wrong that they're not going to we're not going to see the persistence on PSVR2, that we're not going to see Farpoint, that we're not going to see Everybody's Golf, or that we're not going to see Blood and Truth? Like, are they so willing to just kind of toss these properties aside that they spent so much money developing and say, well, we'll just try something new?
Yeah, it does make you nervous, especially in the light of the fact that they just pretty much leaked the next gen version of the Vita, which is apparently on the way. Yeah, it does certainly make you nervous. You know, we keep preaching that, you know, better support's coming for PSVR 2, but you know, when stuff like this happens, it makes you question yourself every now and then, doesn't it?
Yeah. I want to say Dreams was ahead of its time.
For sure.
And it kind of was. Like, it was sort of this miracle that it even existed. That not only did we get VR that was playable on PlayStation 4, we got affordable console VR with PlayStation VR 1. I never would have expected in a million years that we would have gotten the tools to create VR games ourselves during that very same generation. So in essence, it was before its time. And I guess because of that, maybe it just never got the chance it deserved. People said the learning curve was too steep, right? Because the tools are too deep. There's too much to learn here, right? I'm sure if you fully learn these things, it would take years, right, to be able to really like know this thing inside out. And so I'm wondering if,
in their defense, they did pretty extensive tutorials, and those who wanted to learn could.
Yeah.
So yeah, any game development's going to be daunting to learn, and I do feel like it was as a layman, it certainly seemed like it was a bit more palatable in Dreams than going over and trying to learn Unity or Unreal or something like that.
Yeah. So it's it's good that for now Dreams still exists in its current form. It sucks that you have to have your PSVR 1 hooked up to your PlayStation 5 still. But actually,
that's the worst. That's the worst. That you can even. It's the worst that there is some support on the new console, but there's no support for the new headset. That just pretty much kills VR on it over the next couple of years. Even if they keep it alive for 5 more years, like, it's pretty much done in terms of VR.
Yeah. Yep. et.2k9.now with the $20 tip says, in reference to the new Media Molecule project, the exciting new project, he says, but will it be exciting for VR players? He also sent a $2 clarifying tip.
Maybe.
I mean, they've got a lot of experience, man. Like Dreams was one of those games that, even on PSVR 1, you could be playing on the flat screen, turn on your headset, throw it on, and then suddenly you'd be in VR. Right? There wasn't this whole thing. You didn't have to reset the game. You didn't have to start with the right controllers. You could just turn off your moves and pick up your aim and turn that on, and then suddenly you were using your aim. They were really, once they got the VR version of Dreams up and running, it seems like they really knew what they were doing for the most part. There were exceptions here and there, but it switched back and forth so seamlessly that I feel like Media Molecule has too much VR experience to just let it fall by the wayside and not make their next game VR compatible.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, even during PS3 era, Sony put them to supporting like the Move system and like the PlayStation Eye with their Little Big Planet franchise. So they're a studio who Sony has historically leaned on to support these fringe and new technologies. So I could certainly see Sony tasking them with at least supporting VR with whatever the next project is, assuming that there is a next project for this studio.
Secret Dove says, I miss a shoot 'em up construction kit on the C64. I had arcade game construction kit on the N64. You could make almost like Zelda likes, the original Zelda. You could make shoot 'em ups. It's good stuff. I spent hundreds of hours with that thing when I was a kid. And that's why when Dreams came out, I was like, this is everything I want it to be. And I've been promising myself and everybody else that I was going to get into Dreams, figure out how it all worked, make my dream horror game. And now I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not going to spend hundreds of hours in Dreams only for the thing to be locked, as it is. That will never be playable on PSVR2. Like, not interested. Which
start practicing
sucks.
in Roblox, Brian.
Sure, I'll get right on that. Josh Zosky with the $5 tip says, more generally, there are a couple of dozen games stranded on PSVR1 and none of them announced for PSVR2, Astrobot, Farpoint, Wipeout, etc. There's so many more than a couple dozen. PSVR1 got over 500, close to 600 games. And how many have been brought over to PSVR2 so far? 20, if that.
Yeah, not many.
So there's hundreds upon hundreds of games that we're still waiting for news on. And there will be some that never make it over. We have no idea, if some of these developers are still around. I've definitely reached out to Viva Games regarding Immortal Legacy. I know we joke about Immortal Legacy a lot, right? But it's a game that I loved and would hate to have stranded over there. And I never got a response. And it's not because, and I highly doubt it's because they were like, fuck you, we're done with that Brian Paul guy, right? PSVR1 was a failure, and so is he. I just don't believe that some of these studios exist anymore. And so I don't know who owns the IP. I'm assuming Sony owns the IP. Would they be interested in, hiring somebody to bring it to PSVR2? I have no idea. But I don't think we'll ever hear about Immortal Legacy ever again, except for when I bring it up every single episode of GamesCast until the end of time. So you'll never stop hearing about Immortal Legacy. The name will live on right here during GamesCast.
No Marvels for you.
At least that studio still exists. Vitruvius is still around, right? Vitruvius said a long time ago that they're making a PSVR2 game because after Marvels they made Shadow Legend, right? And then and then they said that they were making it's now an open area, not an open world, but like big open areas, sci-fi. I don't know if it's a first-person shooter. I think that's what it is for PSVR2. We just haven't heard from them in a while. But they're still around. They're still kicking. We should be hearing from them soon.
Agreed.
Yeah. I want Marvels on PSVR2. I do. Dan, the Gamecast Pajamas with the £5 says, gotta go to bed, but my guess for 20 questions is Ghost Giant. Well, I gotta tell you, Dan, you've ended the game. You have failed. Your wrong guess has ended the game prematurely, and very sorry to tell you that. You've failed. So, spoilers, Wes. The answer to 20 questions is not Ghost Giant. Cool. Speaking of which,
21 questions.
I think it's time to move on to the end of the show, which is PSVR 20 questions. I'm going to be the host this time around. I've got a PlayStation VR game up in this little head of mine. And it's up to you guys and Wes to ask 20 yes or no questions to figure it out. And you only have 6 minutes to do it. Wes, are you ready?
I am, sir. Let's do this.
All right. Well, I gotta bring it up, man. I gotta make sure that I have all of the answers available at my disposal. Make sure I have all the information. All right. Here we go. On your mark. Get Des. Go.
Has this game been announced for PlayStation VR2?
Yeah.
Has this game been released for PlayStation VR2?
Yes, it has.
Is this a horror game?
It is not a horror game.
Is this a rhythm game?
It is not a rhythm game.
Sci-fi?
This is a sci-fi game. That's 5.
Is it a shooter?
It's not a shooter.
Okay. Puzzle game?
Nope, not a puzzle game.
All right. So Sci-fi game, PSVR2, not a shooter, not a puzzle game, not a rhythm game. What do we have here? Give me some games, cats. Is it? Would you say that this is a cartoony game?
I would say this is a cartoony game.
Okay. Is this game exclusive to PSVR2?
It is not exclusive.
I see. Was this game developed by shit? Drawing a blank on Alchemy Labs.
It was not developed by Alchemy. That's 10.
You said this was not exclusive, right? So
not
this is
exclusive.
a multi-plat. Has this developer done other PlayStation VR games?
Nope.
No. Okay. Do you have long or no? Do you have tentacles in this game, Brian?
No.
So it's not tentacular.
It's not tentacular.
All right. So it's a multi-platform science fiction game that is cartoony. Is it heavily narrative focused?
Not heavily, no.
So it can't be The Last Worker. Runner that definitely did other PSVR games, so it can't be Runner. It's not Runner. It's not Last Worker. Have we talked about this game on today's episode?
We have not talked about this game on today's episode.
All right, so it's not Zenith either. So no Cosmonius High because it's not that developer. No Runner, no Zenith, no Last Worker. Give me some other stuff here, guys. Before Your Eyes, I wouldn't call that science fiction. Is this game based on a well-known IP?
It is not, and that's 15. Not based on a well-known IP.
Okay, so it can't be Star Wars because it's not a shooter and not based on a well-known IP. It's not Vacation Sim. Can't be. No, I wouldn't consider either one of the Japanese. Is No Man's Sky's not cartoony though. I wouldn't say. One of the farming sims. That's not science fiction, bro. Are you a bartender in this game?
You are a bartender in this game.
Brian, is this Startenders?
This is Startenders,
Yes.
which I keep forgetting is on PSVR2 at all. Like I just I don't have no idea that this is on PSVR2. Like I know it got announced forever ago. I know that it's out. I probably have it downloaded on my PlayStation 5 as a PSVR2 game. Just completely keep forgetting that this even exists.
Shout out Aceville for the right. He didn't name it, but he knew it. He gave me the right clue.
He was the first person I saw to name it. He was around question 7, I think, that he named it.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I think he's just trying to steer you in the right direction at the end there. Good job, Aceville. Good job, Wes. Good job, everybody. Man. All right, Wes. So remind everybody why they need to tune into Virtual Strangers tonight.
Well, we're going to be playing one of the greatest, if not the greatest VR game of all time, live on the air. And we're also going to be talking about some other awesome stuff, namely Zombieland, Headshot Fever, and Tetris Effect. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty good reason. We're all PSVR 2 this week and most likely next week as well.
Love it, man. That's what I like to hear. When my favorite channels are covering the same thing that I like to cover, it's a good thing. Guys, and don't forget, click the link in the description below. Join our Discord. While you're at it, subscribe to Wes over at Virtual Strangers so you can catch all their coverage, especially if you like long form stuff, man. Like that, I think that's why I first started watching your channel, Wes, because as a huge fan of like Beyond back in the day, and of course Kind of Funny, you know, like they would just go on for like hours and hours and hours. I just like love to have that on like while I'm doing something else, while I'm playing a game, while I'm doing whatever. And I think you guys kill it with the long form content. So keep up the good work. Everybody, make sure you subscribe. Also, a quick shout out to everybody who helps this channel run, all the moderators who make my life better each and every day. Jay Meow, who gets this up on podcast services of your choice for those of you who like to watch with your ears. See, that's the joke. I screwed it up an hour and a half ago, but it took me 95 minutes to get it right. Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, who puts the timestamps into the sucker after the fact. They're going to be late tonight. He told me already, but don't worry. They will always get in there eventually. All the cats who support the channel financially, whether they tip here in the chat, whether they're a member over here, or if they're helping us out on patreon.com/withoutparole thank you to everybody who helped out on 20 questions, participated in the chat tonight, hung out, and of course, all of those who sit back and watch the show and don't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. Happy West Day, Wes.
Happy West Day, Brian.
Sergeant Frosty in the chat says, I started watching Wes because he was streaming games when I was trying to fall asleep. I feel like that's when your channel is the most active. So when people are sleeping, you are the best channel for all the insomniacs out there.
That's true. That's true. We do this thing with our podcast where we start it when the East Coast is going to bed. And the West Coast is in prime time.
Did you say the West Coast? The West Coast?
Yeah, the West Coast, right. That's exactly right. They're in prime time, and then by the time we get to the later stages of the show, Europe is waking up, and they join the party as the East Coast falls off. When I stream, which is becoming more and more rare, but when I stream gameplay, that typically starts even later. Like I'll go 3 a.m. and then we'll get into a game. And then Brian will wake up in the morning and I'll be on the air.
Yeah.
We work in the overnight hours. That's when I go to work. Like I'm a C shift guy. So that's when I get the most done when I'm at home.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. You are Without Parole's Japanese studio.
There we go.
If anybody understands that, it's a camouflage reference. That Ryan Payton claims one of the reasons they opened a Japanese studio was so that they could technically be working 24/7. I was like, you're so full of shit. You just want an excuse to live in Japan. And I think he's like, yeah, that's kind of true.
Moves over next to Sony and then sells to Facebook. What the hell?
Seriously. We need a Japanese Without Parole studio because I also want to go live in Japan. And then sell out to Meta.
Right. PS3 Without Parole coming up soon.
Fuck yeah. Dude, if Nintendo ever drops a VR headset, like we're gonna have to look into changing the way things are run around here. That's for sure.
Oh, that's definitely going to happen. But I'll tell you what it'll be. A couple things. First of all, like technically on a technical level, it'll be like Quest 1, like equivalent. But 2, it will have features that you've never seen on any other headset before.
Yep.
Very creative things that you've never thought of. And it'll have all of those IPs that we all love and want to play. There'll be Zelda, there'll be Metroid, there'll be Super Mario, you'll be playing Punch-Out. Like, dude, it'll be awesome.
Mario Kart. Listen, all I've ever wanted in a VR headset was a good kart racing game, and we just can't seem to get it. So Mario Kart alone would sell me on a Nintendo headset. 100%.
Yeah. We're going to get it. Virtual Boy 2 is coming. It'll happen in about 5 years. It'll be antiquated technology, just like Switch is now, but they'll make the most of it, and it'll be awesome.
It'll be perfect for Nintendo-style graphics. Mario Kart will shine in that thing. Right. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Let's get out of here, Wes. Good night, everybody. We love you.
Good night.